And I meant momentarily when I said it. So time's now a minute after 2 o'clock Eastern, just after 11 a.m. Pacific. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining today's TMC Connect web broadcast entitled Minimize Your Risk by Leveraging Real-Time Agency Guidelines and Investor Overlay Update. And today's TMC Connect broadcast is presented to us and our group at TMC by our partners at the Rule Tool. So before we jump into today's discussion, just want to briefly cover some quick housekeeping items for the call. First and foremost, I want to encourage all of our attendees to check out the Mortgage Collaborative's member event calendar, as well as our TMC Connect pages on Mortgage Collaborative website. It will give you a recurring schedule of our upcoming TMC Connect broadcast. I have a total of 9 sessions that we're hosting this week, and definitely encourage people to keep checking in as based on the feedback we're getting from our preferred partners and our lender members, continually adding new sessions in between Monday and Thursday each week. So keep an eye out for those sessions, typically starting between 2, 3, or 4 p.m. Eastern. And keep pulling that content together based on your submissions. I also want to encourage our members, as time allows, please check out our Ask TMC and TMC Benchmark member benefit tools to help maximize your experience as a member of the Mortgage Collaborative. As far as today's discussion goes, first off, if you're dialed in or connected via your computer, all lines have been muted for the call. This is done only to avoid any background noise in your area and ensure that all our attendees can hear today's presentation clearly. Now, we want these discussions to be as interactive as possible, so I encourage all attendees, any questions that you have for our discussion leaders, please feel free to verbalize those through either the chat function or the Q&A box, both of which are accessible at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And today's call will be recorded and will be available for playback. All attendees will receive access to a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the presentation. And those will be distributed in a follow-up email that you will receive tomorrow. Now, for today's discussion, we're lucky enough to have a collection of great discussion leaders. First off, driving today's discussion is President and CEO with Megastar Financial, Anita Padilla. Hi, Anita.
Hello, Tom.
Thank you for leading today's call. Anita is also joined by a collection of champions for the Rule Tool, and they include Jackson Brown, not the singer, Vice President and Branch Manager with Harborview Lending. Hey, Jackson.
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Going great. We also have Pierre Burris, loan originator at Megastar Financial. Hey, Pierre.
How you doing, Tom?
Doing great. And also helping lead the discussion is Gabe Gillen, President at Family First Funding. Hey, Gabe.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure is all ours. So, first and foremost, extremely grateful to each of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to help lead this discussion for the benefit of our members at TMC. So on that note, I want to jump right into things, and I'm going to turn it over to Anita to kick things off. Anita, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And let me see. Oh, here we go. Share screen. Share screen. Share. Great. And everybody can see my screen. Yep.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome to the Rule Tool. I am the president and CEO of Megastar Financial. I'm a 42-year mortgage banker, and I've owned Megastar for 21 years. I also own Take 3 Technologies, and we develop technology products specifically to with the goal in mind of helping loan officers and sales teams, and being able to get information to them so that they can make decisions as they're meeting with their clients and making good decisions with regard to loan locks, potential investor overlays, and what have you. So what you're seeing in front of you is the Rule Tool, and our job every day is to go in and study investor guidelines and look at changes that are coming out, both the lender letters and the bulletins. As you know, we get a lot of information from various sources, whether those are directly from the agencies or from investors. And really what we do is we organize the information for you. So we have a general counsel who helps lead this team, and then we have knowledge experts who will read the bulletins, and then they will put it through a process where there's a second knowledge expert who will approve the change, and then we post it to the rule tool. In a sense, you can think of us as an electronic binder. So for those of you who have been in the business for many years, prior to the internet, we all had binders on our desk. We had the different investors and their guidelines as to how they applied agency guidelines to products. So we would look up the guideline in the binder, find the rule, read it, move on our way. Then the introduction of the internet gave us the ability to Google for the agencies, or to log in to an investor site to see how they potentially handled information. So with that, I found as a CEO of my company that we would have loans and underwriting where we locked it with a specific investor and we missed on an overlay. So as you know, back in 2008, overlays kind of consumed our world, and we're kind of back in that world again today with COVID and immediate changes and things that are going on in the industry. So really all we want to do is help loan officers and business owners by giving them information at their fingertips, keeping it organized, and getting it to you as soon as it hits the market. So as I said, our research team is going in every day and we're logging into the agency guidelines to look for lender letters or bulletins. And we're also logging into the investor websites to see if there have been changes. So here we're just showing on the landing page all of the changes that have been coming out recently. So you just, as a member, you're able to log in. And then here is the search tool. So you can use the rule tool on your phone, on your iPad, on your desktop, just you know, wherever you want to use the tool. Before we perform a search, I'll show you a few features we have. One is the chat room. So we found that loan officers like to chat and discuss certain scenarios, maybe how to structure a deal that you're not familiar with. When you pose a question in the chat room, it goes to all of the Rule Tool users in our Rule Tool Nation. So you're able to get color from other people as to how they're doing things. So the chat room is just that. It's a chat between loan officers. It's not monitored by the Rule Tool knowledge experts, because you guys are just chatting and doing deals and figuring out, you know, where to go and what to do. Down here, again, we post the recent changes. The link to this somehow isn't active today for some reason, but you'll see tomorrow, if you click on this, you'll be able to actually pull up the actual bulletin from the investor. So if you just want to I want to read the bulletin, you can do that. So for the Rule Tool, the training is very easy. We do all the maintenance for you. And again, it's just a way for your company to keep things organized for your loan officers. So in here, if you wanted to, as an example, look for Fannie Mae, you have options where your loan officer can come in here and they can look for different, we call them keywords. So maybe I want to know about earnest money or what have you. So that's one rule search. They just click here and then you'll see that the system has defaulted that down here. You click, and now the system's going to tell you what the rule is and where we got the reference from. So if you want to reread it, you can. Now, one of the things that we have found is companies will talk about it's not expansive enough for underwriters, and we don't disagree. The Rule Tool is to help originators originate loans and get answers so that they can efficiently move that loan through the pipeline. Underwriters are very used to using the agency guidelines as they should. How the underwriters use it at Megastar is more for the overlay capacity. So our underwriters know the Fannie guidelines, they know they know the FHA, VA, they know those pretty well. Where they sometimes get mixed up is capital markets wants to tell them what other investors would purchase this loan. So your underwriter can then access the overlays to see if there are other overlays in the system. So you can see here, if they were looking at any of these investors, they can see the overlays by just clicking here. And then we also post the COVID bulletins. A lot of COVID bulletins have been coming out with regard to how investors are absorbing the guidelines that are coming out from the agencies. So for our underwriters, they underwrite to agency, and then they look to the overlay matrix to determine if they know that there's an oddity to the loan. Say the house had additions. So some investors want certain things in order to purchase the loan. The underwriter can then reference the overlay sheet and then indicate to secondary the saleability of that loan. So with that, I'll see if we have any questions. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move on and then go back to look at a new rule. So the other way is you can just type something in. So let's just say, I think forbearance seems to be the big word of the day. So we can come in and we can just say, well, show me forbearance. What is Fannie Mae saying about forbearance? So not only is the rule going to tell you what they're saying, but more importantly, it's going to tell your loan officer the different things that they should probably be thinking about with regard to forbearance and how forbearance might have affected your client overall. So you're, first and foremost, you're going to have the mortgage history. And then it talks about modifications and understanding the difference between modifications and forbearance, deferred monthly obligations, and income stability. So it kind of gives you a shore up of different things that maybe you were or weren't thinking of. Now, as you see, there is no keyword called forbearance. So what the rule tool does, which is cool, is we put in similar keywords. So what would a loan officer refer, so Fannie Mae isn't going to say forbearance, they're going to put it under mortgage history. So the system is going to help you figure that out. It's going to say, oh, well, they're really talking mortgage history, and that's where the rule is going to be. So here, then we can just click, and here we're going to put the forbearance rule on top. And then as COVID melts away, you'll see this melt away, and then we go back to our standard rule. So that's one example of how our users use the rule tool. You can also go in and let's just say that you want to look at deferred monthly obligations here. You can come in here, and then here you have the COVID rule. Now, what's cool is that notice Megastar. So the business owner, Gabe can go in for his company, and they can put what they want their guidance to be. So Gabe delivering directly to the agencies and not to investors. Gabe's going to put in his rule. Some lenders don't offer correspondent lending. They do 100% agency, so they're going to put their rules in here. Some lenders don't have their Fannie Fred. They're not Fannie Freddie Ginnie seller deliverers, so therefore they're going to only have correspondent. In the case of Megastar, we do both. We offer a product that we sell directly to the agencies, and then we also offer our loan officers variables with other correspondent lenders that they can select. So that's another example. So that's kind of it. I mean, it's a pretty simple process. We can go PPP. That seems to be another popular one, or forgot to select the agency. And then here it's gonna take you to the guidance regarding self-employed income and what the SBA PPP policy is gonna be for self-employed borrowers is established by the agencies. And once again, you can go look and see what the investors are saying about that, and or your company can give guidance. So with that said, can I answer any questions so far, Tom? Or
Yeah, Nita, I had a question come in. Generally, how quickly do GSE, say, lender letter updates or corresponding investor overlays in reaction to, some of these lender letters get updated into the Rule Tool platform search engine?
Great question. We normally update the circular within 24 hours. Then as to the keyword updates, it's about 1 to 2 business days. So we have to get the newsletter, we have to read it, then the content knowledge expert has to articulate, and then after they articulate, it goes to a second level review, and then assuming that they agree with the articulation, they go ahead and post and it's public.
Excellent, thank you. And then I guess one other quick corresponding question, is there a way, or do you see a view live in the Rule Tool platform to designate, say, time or date of when any update, maybe on top of an existing lender letter or investor overlay update notes are added into the platform?
We do know when they're added in the admin section. I'd have to double check to see what we do here. As to the actual date it was posted,
okay.
We do have that in our admin section, but we don't post it to the public.
Gotcha. But to your point, with 24-hour or less turn time on kind of deciphering those notes, obviously your users can have a pretty sense of confidence that they've got the most updated information within the search engine.
Right, but my assumption is most people are receiving their lender letters from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, what have you. So they're going to know it's in your inbox. Our job is keeping it organized for you, so that in disseminating it, so that your sales force has access to it, thereby saving you money as a CEO or president, owner of your company, and then just keeping all that information organized. So I'd like to ask our panelists, if I could, Tom, maybe they could describe a scenario where the Rule Tool has helped them, or your daily life as a loan officer, how using the Rule Tool has helped you.
I'd be happy to jump in, Anita. This is Pierre, and I use the Rule Tool constantly. Just love it. It really has helped me become industry leader in my area for knowledge. The agents, come to me and they know I can get an answer for them, and it's at my fingertips. I can be in front of a computer and use it. I can be on my mobile. Wherever I'm at, I can access the Rule Tool, and it comes to a point to where I'm actually, their crutch. So they're relying on me, because I can come up with quick answers, efficient answers, and it just really makes their connection with me stronger. Right now, we get a lot of stability of income questions, with people returning to work, or with, income being changed because they're off work for an extended period of time. And I can just jump in and look up the stability income guidelines for a particular agency, and within a few minutes know exactly what we're dealing with, as far as the income goes, and what type of paycheck stubs we're going to need. Are we going to need some additional verification on a self-employed borrower? I mean, it's just really saved a lot of time, and it's actually saved some deals in general just by knowing how to structure them up front. It just makes the process a lot easier.
I'll jump in, Anita, and I can attest to that. I think the time saving is huge, especially more so now than any other time. We have a lot of volume coming in with the refinancing, and last thing we need to do is spend time on sitting here looking up guidelines, trying to reach out to the underwriters who don't have time either, and all the staff support right now. They're all busy. So, me being as a branch manager, the last thing I need to do is spend time on helping other loan officers, looking up guidelines, et cetera. So if I can refer to this and within minutes have an answer, it just saves me time and makes everything a lot more streamlined, and my loan officers as well. I can refer to go here first, And if you absolutely cannot find the answer, come to me. But that usually cuts out 80% of the questions just from going there first.
I know.
And I can add to it as well if it's all right. You know, for our purposes, we have a scenario desk at our company, which you know, it's tough to find the right perfect person for that role. And you know, loan officers can send anything from tax returns for qualification to ask questions that could easily be Googled, right? And it's that part, it can be frustrating and time consuming for the scenario desk. So we found that the typical response or I guess complaint from the loan officer is, you know, whether it's too difficult to search through the seller guide, the 4000.1, you know, it's too difficult for them to navigate and find what they're looking for. But I think what our sales team, those that really benefit from the rule tool, what they see and get out of this is, you know, the ease of how you were searching. You know, you can pick multiple agencies, you can pick multiple, you know, VA, FHA, different underwriting guidelines, and you can really search and get all of those answers, you know, kind of at the same time. You know, if you know you had to, there's a deed in lieu of foreclosure or a bankruptcy, right? So the loan officer could figure out, well, which route do I need to go if it's only been 3 years and 9 months? You know, they can really find that and save, you know, maybe some back and forth emails from our scenario desk, or worse yet, if they email one of our underwriting managers, and then our underwriting managers aren't getting back to them quick enough, and there's that sales versus ops thing. So giving them these tools has freed people up and really created more efficiencies for us.
That's great. I know our underwriting manager said when we first introduced the rule tool, and the introduction is tough because you, like Gabe just said, you got to get people to use it because they want to ask questions. But every time they go to one of your underwriters, they slow them down. Every time they go to the branch manager, they slow them down. So it's just, and now with such quick moving information, you know, you're able to access the information. So our underwriting manager said when the rule tool was out for a while and we really got people to embrace it, he goes, I love the rule tool because it's really cut down on the number of questions that come to underwriting, but I hate the rule tool because the loan officers use it to bust my chops. Meaning his underwriters may ask for a condition that isn't really warranted, and the loan officers can find the guidance in the rule tool. It's also really helped us promote consistency among our underwriters, because the underwriters do very much rely on the agency guidelines. However, as I said, they do use it constantly to look for investor overlays. But they know that if we, and then the company can issue guidance and say, well, okay, here's how we're going to handle, you know, let's just say commissioned income, right? So commissioned income can sometimes be gray if it hasn't been a full 2 years. Your company can give guidance on how, you know, Gabe wants to manage that at his organization and help the loan officers know what needs to happen. Now, it may not be black and white. It may be, okay, if you have commission less than 2 years, this is what we need to see. And then you need to maybe get guidance directly from our underwriters because it's a risk analysis with regard to what they did prior to their commissions and what have you. But it just tells a loan officer what they need to do to move forward. So the tools brought value, you know, from that perspective too.
Anita, I would like to add that, you know, as far as loan officers go, typically what they want is a great underwriting experience. And what I've found with using the rule tool, as much as I use it, is that when my files go into underwriting, the underwriter already knows if it's a tough file, that I've searched it out, that I've looked it up in rule tool, that I know exactly what I'm dealing with and what the guidelines are. So my conditions are very, very minimal. And even times where the underwriter will call me and say, hey, you know, this is a difficult file and, you know, I'm seeing it this way, but I'm sure you already looked it up. So what are you seeing? And, you know, just kind of adds credibility to you when you're using a system that they know you've already basically underwritten the file prior to submitting it. So it's really made my life a lot easier and made my files go a lot smoother through underwriting.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll add to this and just say that I've actually printed up, right from the guide, from the rule tool, and include that in my submissions for the underwriter. So if there's any question, they have the rule tool guidelines right in front of them.
Question I have for the group here, any best practices that you recommend out, just kind of piggybacking to Anita's point earlier and creating that buy-in from your originators, from the get-go to leverage the rule tool as their resources. Curious if there's any tips or best practices to help create that buy-in that you'd share.
Tips and best practices in form of giving how to use the rule tool tips to our users. No, we haven't, but I think that's a great idea, and I'm going to write that down.
Well, I would say, as far as, tips as far as getting users to want to use the rule tool, essentially, what I do with my loan officers and other loan officers that are using the rule tool is it's basically, I just do a comparison. If you have a question, that they'll call and ask me a question, and I'll have the answer in a couple of minutes, and then I'll just say, okay, here's how I was able to find that answer. Open your rule tool. Here's what you put in, and here's your answer. They didn't really need to ask me the question because all I'm doing is reading what rule tool says. They could have done that themselves, but it's just, a familiarity with the system and getting to a point to where they just understand that it's there. The answers are there. Nothing I'm coming up with is rocket science. It's all guidelines. The old saying is there's no logic in lending. I'm just looking for the guidelines, and I'm looking for the materials, and that's what the rule tool gives us, and it just makes the process a lot easier.
This has been a very popular question with self-employed people whose businesses were closed and they're coming back into the environment with regard to what the agencies are saying the lenders need to do to establish the continuity and stability of income. So, we're, like Gabe, we also host daily deal calls. And to Pierre's point, we just keep going over, well, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do, right? So every situation is going to be different when it comes to businesses that were closed that are coming back in. We had one yesterday. That man was a dentist, owned his dental practice for 40 years, had $1 million in cash reserves, good FICO score, low loan to value, all of that fun stuff. So in his case, what we decided as a lender, and of course that's up to Gabe and the people who run their companies, but we looked at the guideline and we decided that if we could get a printout of all of the appointments that the dentist has scheduled out for the next a couple of months with a letter that he's reopened, and because he could qualify using the months when he was closed, that's all we used. We had another situation with a masseuse, and again, we referenced what Fannie Mae said, and in that case, this person had to provide actual invoices because they were in-home masseuse, and they used that little square thing where people run their credit card through. But that provided the invoices to show that the income flow was back to where it was. Again, it's risk analysis and how your lender's going to use it, but you can add, your commentary down here as the business owner to help your people get through. But literally, the rule tool is very affordable, and you can get rid of an FTE just by allowing us to be your organizer. And again, we're like an electronic 3-ring binder on steroids. We just keep all of the information organized for you so it's at your fingertips. As a CEO, I use it constantly. If we had a pushback from an investor, I go straight to the rule tool to see what the agencies say. And then I'll go back to the investor and go, well, wait a minute, you know, I don't agree. I think this is what the agency says. I get that your underwriter's using this color, but show me where I picked that up, and you don't have it as an overlay. So, you know, help us out here. And in many cases we win.
Hey, real quick, I want to encourage our attendees, any questions that you may have for Anita or our discussion leaders today. I want to, you know, encourage you to please filter those in via either the chat or Q&A function, and I'll be able to present those out on your behalf. But yeah, I couldn't agree more, Anita. To your point, we've seen our members experience a lot of value for a long time now from the rule tool, and having all of this information sourced in one location, accessible through, you know, keyword and different search engine functions. But I think that value is amplified so much more now in this current environment, to the points that, you know, both Pierre and Jackson made, that there's information flying in so quickly from the GSEs reacting in real time, and then in turn, the investors having to update their overlays based off that information, that, you know, for originators having to go through a multitude of different sources to parse through this information. What better tool or time savings than to have the rule tool accessible to them, you know, any time of day.
Yeah, we've been, I mean, I feel like every day I'm sending out new guidance or new updates, from lender letters, from investor overlays to, you know, whatever it may be, if it's going to an aggregator, if it's just an agency deal. And I think more than ever, our whole sales teams can really benefit from using this. Now, obviously they always can, but now with all the changes constantly, you know, happening, and how much information I personally have emailed out to them, that, you know, it's changing every day. You know, everybody uses that word, it's fluid, right? We're in a fluid situation, it's constantly changing. What better resource than something like this now for the loan officers to tap into? And to Anita's point before, it is very inexpensive, surprisingly inexpensive, you know, from our perspective as well.
Excellent. Appreciate the feedback, Gabe. I don't have any additional questions at this time. So, you know, Anita, I'd love to turn it back over to you, discussion leaders as well, in case anybody has any closing remarks they want to share with our attendees before wrapping up today's discussion.
I think my last comment would be that, you know, the rule tool is really, is also very much a collaborative, and us working together as mortgage bankers and helping each other. And, you know, for me, the mortgage business has been very, very good to me. And the tool is inexpensive, but, you know, I really want to help retail loan officers who establish relationships with consumers be successful in our environment, and just, you know, in our way of giving back, and then, you know, helping each other. So if you see something that you think could be better, or you think a rule wasn't articulated, or you can't find a rule, you can just press this button right here. That comes into our team, and then we take your feedback and we incorporate it. So, you know, it's just a way for us to work together as an industry and help each other, help retail loan officers and help the business owners, and not be subject to missing an overlay, and if you're on a best effort lock, having to go to market and things like that.
What I can add in closing is that it's all about professionalism. You know, all loan officers have programs. We have similar programs, similar interest rates. You know, there's similarities everywhere. But what separates you is your professionalism. And what the rule tool allows you to do is be extremely efficient and extremely professional. You know, you're a source of being able to get an answer quickly. And we all know that, you know, if you're dealing with real estate agents, that they want the answer yesterday. So if you can get that answer to them in minutes, you know, there's times where I get a call and basically I'm on the call and I'm typing the answers, the questions, and getting the answers right then. And, you know, for all they know, I just knew the answer. And sometimes I do, but what the rule tool allows you to do is validate your answer, and you just come off as that much more of a professional, and that relationship is just is solidified when you can do things like that and use the rule tool to your advantage.
Yeah, in closing, I would say I would highly recommend anyone that has never used this before to at least try it out, because I guarantee you, guaranteed, within the first month, you're going to notice you're going to be much more efficient working wise. But number two, just going to have so much more time during the day instead of wasting it calling, trying to find the answer out. So it's just going to help your business overall significantly moving forward if you have never tried this program.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo the same kind of comments. You know, from a senior management or ownership standpoint, getting these tools, you know, what we have to do as owners is create value. You know, there's no reason why a loan officer or branch is going to continue to work for a company if they don't provide value. That's my job. You know, it's my job to retain my staff, sales specifically, and this is a difference maker. It's something that we can provide. It's another value add. It's something that a resource, educational or a resource to help our sales team do their job better and more efficiently, and to differentiate themselves from their competitors. So from the ownership side, this, you know, it's things like this that make your company more valuable and make you be more meaningful to, you know, those sales teams or individual loan officers that are out there.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I want to thank each of you so much. Yeah, first Anita for driving today's call and discussion, and Jackson, Pierre, Gabe, each for kind of sharing your unique perspectives on how in your organization you're able to leverage the rule tool and be that trusted resource. Very insightful perspective. And lastly, I want to thank every attendee for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Certainly not lost on us how frantically busy everyone is right now. So definitely appreciate you spending that time with us. And on that note, hope everybody stays well, stay sane, and enjoy the rest of your day and your week.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.